For product photography, lenses are even more important than the right camera body. So if you have a good quality lens with the right perspective, it can completely change the way your work looks. So let's talk about all the lenses that I use for product photography. Now, let's say if you're a beginner and you're just starting out in product photography and you're looking for an affordable lens, a versatile lens, then I would highly recommend going in for the 50 mm, because this one lens is so versatile that it can be used in so many different situations to create fantastic images. And in fact, when I started in photography, I started with this 50 mm lens, which was f1.8, and it was very affordable. If I remember it right, I bought it for around I think 6,000 rupees back in 2011. So, and I created my entire portfolio using this 50 mm lens. Now, let's say if you're more serious about product photography and you want to do advertising work, some commercial work, so in that case, I would recommend going in for the 105 macro lens. Now, this lens is the ultimate workhorse for all sorts of advertising work, right from your high-end commercial campaigns to your e-commerce work to social media to bulk shoots. I mean, this one lens can handle everything. And another good thing about 105 lens is that you get a very safe working distance between the products and the camera. So let's say you're doing some crazy shoots where some liquid splashes are involved, or you're using some you're bursting some powder on the product. So in those situations, you always want your camera to be at a safe distance from the product. And when you're using a 105, you can do that and still have the entire product in frame because it's a macro lens, right? Now the next lens, which is my personal favorite and which I use all the time for the kind of photos that I shoot, is this right here, which is the 85 tilt shift macro lens. Now since this is also a macro, so it replaces my 105 macro lens, and this lens has very interesting features which are the tilt feature and the shift feature. So if I show you here, the tilt feature works like this, that the front element of the lens can be tilted at several angles, right? And another feature is the shift feature, which works like this, that the lens can be shifted either ways, okay? So, this these features are really helpful in certain situations. Now, let's say, for example, let's say that this is a product and your camera is right here, okay? And you're looking down at the product like this. So in this case, if you focus at the tip of the product, everything below that point would be out of focus, right? But using the tilt feature, I can have this entire plane in focus. So this is very nice. Now coming to the shift feature on this lens, it is really helpful when I'm shooting reflective products. And to understand it better, let's take an example of mirror. So let's say that this is a mirror and my camera is right here. So of course the mirror is going to reflect the camera, right, from this angle. Now to avoid this situation, what I do is I move my camera slightly below the mirror so that the mirror no longer sees the camera. There is no reflection of the camera in the mirror. And then from this point, I shift my lens up so that I see the mirror, but there is no reflection of the camera in the mirror. Okay, so this is very interesting to avoid reflections of camera in highly reflective products. And you can also do the same thing using any lens. So let's say if you're using a 105 macro in this case, and this is the mirror. So what you do is you move your camera slightly below the mirror first and then look up at the mirror like this. Okay, so at this angle, the mirror is no longer reflecting the camera, but since there is no shift feature, so you will see slight distortion in the mirror. So you will see some converging lines, It's like, let's say when you go in front of a building, a tall building, and you look up at the building, you will see the building like this, right? So those are called converging lines. So similarly, when a macro lens or any other lens is looking up at the product like this, the product would be slightly distorted with converging lines. But this can be easily fixed in Photoshop, right? So no matter what lens you are using, you can always achieve this result. But I prefer to achieve this thing right in camera. So that's the reason I love using the tilt shift lens. And now coming to the last lens that I use for product photography is my 35mm. Now this lens, you have to be really careful with it because it can also distort the product. Okay. So this lens is used in situations, where either you are intentionally looking to distort the product to make it look larger than life, where you're looking up at the product from a very close distance so that the product appears huge and larger than life, heroic. So you can use it for that. Or let's say you're shooting some a range of products, where it's a very wide set and you need to cover the entire set in one photo, so you use a 35mm. Or it is also helpful when your shooting area is restricted. So let's say if you have a small shooting space, or let's say your camera is in the set and you have lights all over, and in the middle of the shoot you decide to have a wider angle, and for some reason you can't move your camera further away from the product, so in that case you can always use this 35mm lens. So if you are investing into lenses for product photography, I would say you can invest in this order. First, start with a 50mm lens, then go for a 105 macro. Then if you're really serious about product photography and you want to have a lot of control on your images, then go for the tilt shift lens, and then go for a 35mm lens. Right guys, so these are all the lenses that I use for product photography, and if you have any questions, just comment below and I'll respond back to all your queries. Let's keep this conversation going on down there, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.